Ethereum puts in its first bullish day for the first time in over a week, but will it continue to bounce back up to the upside, or is this just a dead cat bounce and we're going to see further downside action? In today's episode, we're going to look at Ethereum chart analysis as well as some very bullish news from both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Guys, if you're new to the House of Crypto, I make videos about Ethereum, Bitcoin, altcoins, and other ways to make money with cryptocurrency online. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the way in to be kept up to date with all of the latest happening in the markets, as well as to be selected for weekly giveaways. Without further ado, then, let's jump on over to the Ethereum chart. So yesterday we looked at Polkadot, but also referred to both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we saw that we would potentially, if we were to test the upper side of this falling wedge, there was a 63-64% chance of a breakout to the upside. Now, as we see, guys, we have broken this level at around 14.20, and we've broken up and currently sitting at the price of around $15, $16, $15, $18. Now, what is going to happen from here? Are we going to head straight back up to this point here? Are we potentially going to take a dip to the downside? So stick around to the end of this episode and we'll look at both bullish and bearish targets for Ethereum. One thing I want to cover just before that happens is this piece of bullish news from Citi and Ruffer, over on Yahoo Finance. Citi and Ruffer predict breakout moment for Bitcoin. Okay, so mainstream investment businesses are starting to predict a breakout moment for Bitcoin. British asset manager Ruffer on Monday predicted the long-term adoption of Bitcoin by traditional financial institutions. Separately, Citigroup said the cryptocurrency could be the tipping point of usage. So guys, we've been talking about this, people have been talking about this for the last 6 months or so, how Bitcoin is going to be coming in and be taken up by institutional money. And there's a lot of, short-term panic, etc. that's been happening over the last week of everyone offloading their coins, a lot of negativity floating around the internet, but that was pretty much 6 days of a bit of a bounce. And over what's happening in the long term, I'm talking 6 months to a year and 10 years down the line, there's huge exciting opportunities happening in the market. And something I want to draw your attention to is this statement here. We think we are relatively early to this at the foothills of a long trend of institutional adoption and financialization of Bitcoin. So what does that mean, guys? At the moment, we feel like, Bitcoin's come a very long way, and it has come a very long way to sitting around $50,000 mark, having gone up to $60,000 last week. But the very foothills, it means that, the potential upside is massive, and we're potentially only at 10%, maybe even 5% of the potential growth of this. Let me know in the comments below where you think Bitcoin's going to go over the coming years. And obviously today I wanted to make an Ethereum-based video, and the reason I'm talking about Bitcoin is obviously you've seen how Ethereum has reacted and how Bitcoin has reacted, and they've done very, very similar things. So obviously it's important what happens to Bitcoin in terms of what's happening to Ethereum. So we're going to compare both Ethereum and Bitcoin quickly. So on the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, we've been moving down over the last month or so. We've been moving down, but what's happened over here is very key for us. So again, we've put in this triangle, slightly different to what we've seen over on the Ethereum US dollar chart. But this falling wedge here, this falling triangle, we see testing a few times, and then we saw potentially here how it's broken out. So going out to the 1 hour, something I want to draw attention to. Often when we see a breakout like this, we like to see it come back and test before shooting up back like this. But as we can see, Bitcoin currently sitting around $47 is up 5.5%, whereas ETH is up 7.3%. And if this continues, then we're going to see potentially a much better upside for Ethereum over the coming weeks than we will see for Bitcoin. But going back to that news that we've just seen about Bitcoin, if this chart is heading this way and we see Ethereum performing really well against Bitcoin, but at the same time Bitcoin is also performing well, then it's going to be an extremely exciting period of time for Ethereum. But is it going to come straight back up from where we are now? As you can see, on the 4 hour, we've had this big green candle put out here, which is obviously very bullish. But what we're usually looking for is to come back and bounce. So on the 1 hour, I want to show you this. So we kind of came out, and as you see, we broke out above the $14.21, $14.20 line. We come back down, we've tested this $14, and we've pushed it all the way back up here. In terms of a price target for what we would take, ordinarily we'd take from the top of the wedge down to the bottom of the pattern, or the bottom, the lowest low here, okay? So that would then take us all the way potentially back on track up towards this pink line. That puts in around what, 21.61, and almost, if you check it out here, this pink line almost will line up perfectly with that. Now that doesn't mean that this is going to play out and go exactly all the way up. There are a number of situations where that might not happen. And what I want to draw your attention to is this particular story here about Bitcoin, and I'll tell you how it refers to Ethereum as well. Now, what we've seen over the last few weeks, you may have seen a number of people being a bit confused about what's happening. Myself included was a bit confused about why Ethereum continued to plummet quite as hard as it did. And what you should understand is there's a lot of other hands that are starting to manipulate and move the price around. So here we see institutional investors, whales, and battle miners. Sorry, institutional investors, whales are all battling against the miners. So these are all sort of three fairly large players who all have a fairly good idea of what's going on, and yet you see they put out different news: strong buy, buy, sell, sell. Now, why are they doing this? Because they want to move the price around to suit themselves. We've seen when the price is really high, although it's great for us and it feels really great when our portfolio is looking good, if you're an institution and you've got a lot of money to be buying into these things, it's actually not a very good time for you. So companies like Grayscale have been offloading billions of dollars and putting it into Ethereum and Bitcoin. So when the price is really high, they don't want to be paying that premium price. So they have the ability to dump a large portion and it brings it back down to a price at which they want to buy at. So this is what I want you to be aware of. There's a lot of hype saying, oh, we're going to be back on for all-time highs again soon, but always protect yourself, guys, because no matter how much information this chart is telling me and telling everyone else out there, without like clear confirmations, we should always be very careful. And also, even when we are very careful, there's also good chances that the market can move against us and cause like very surprising things to happen. Things like comments from Elon Musk, comments from Peter Schiff, comments from various famous people with a lot of money to move around. So that's just always be doing your own research. Never risk more than you can afford to lose, because you never know exactly what's going to happen. No one really does, because the institutions have such a power to move markets around. Now, what happened here, and what was extremely positive if we just jump back to the 4 hour, was what we had was a bullish divergence. Okay, so this lower low here, so the RSI shows when we're overbought or oversold, and here it was oversold, and you see as it dips out of this 30 band, it shows that it's really oversold. But what we saw is the overselling was decreasing as the price was dropping. So this is called a bullish divergence, which does tend to mean that there's going to be a change in the pattern of things as it goes. So what's also to notice here, as we come back to this point here, we had the price going up, but we also had the overbought kind of dropping. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. When it was going up, would have been a good indicator to see that we were potentially going to change and come down for a bit. Something else to look at in terms of where we might sort of travel to and how we might get there is jumping on to the daily. I just want to jump into the Fibonacci because it was going to show you something that's kind of quite interesting in terms of how the markets are moving and how we can expect this push back up to the upside to happen. So we take from this lowest low back in 12th of March 2020, and we come all the way back up to this high level here. Now, as we see, guys, we've come down and we've touched these levels. These are key kind of like mathematical levels, right? Here we've come down and we've perfectly touched it, and we've almost been bouncing, and we've come back up now. And I think if I ask to move this white line, then this is where I think we might see a bit of sideways motion as the price builds against this red line here. Okay, so the red line being the 0.236. Okay, and then to come back up to the top line, obviously there's a lot of prices in the past where we've established support and resistance. And if we come back over, we look at the line, we found good support here 2 times. We've bounced, we've then come across a bit of resistance and then flipped it into support, come back up. We went straight through this line last time and found support. But in terms of we've got to come back up through all those levels of resistance, guys. As the market will move up, we start to establish these lines of support and resistance, and until we break back above this all-time high, we won't necessarily be going parabolic. I feel once we do break through this all-time high, then there's a good chance that we might see a very fast rally up towards the $3,000 mark. But be careful right now, because there's a lot of people telling you that, it's going to go parabolic immediately, but we need to be careful and protect ourselves against this. Now, at the moment, we're still technically in somewhat of a downtrend until we can break up above this red line here, in which case we'll put ourselves above these previous highs, and we'll move out of this pattern and into a new one. Okay, so in terms of what to remember, guys, this has obviously been a bit of a shock for everyone the last few days where we've had this downtrend. But if we come back to this area back here in August, we had another big dip up here in January, another significant dip. So we need to be careful about how we play things next time. When the markets are dumping down, this is when we actually want to be potentially holding on. Once the market's kind of bottomed out, and I know a number of people were probably selling around here, and okay, it did go a little bit lower, but this is where the smart money is buying, and this is where the smart money is selling. This is where the retail money is buying, because they're all getting the FOMO and they're getting really excited, and this is where they're selling because they're getting all the fear. So just quickly to refer you over to this chart, which is I've looked at before, and those of you who've subscribed will have seen this before, but it's something really interesting to look at because it shows how the emotions work. The big institutions, the smart money, know how this works, guys. They know that when there's a big dump, everyone's really feeling very scared, and they're selling their crypto, and this is what they want. They want to be able to buy it at a discount, because now they've just paid $1,400 for their crypto rather than last week when they could have paid $2,000 for it. Yes, they've saved themselves 30%. But be aware next time. I know we've all been guilty of feeling like this, and we probably were feeling like this around the $2,000 mark. And when we're starting to feel like this is when we need to start looking at the charts and really analyzing where we are and where we think, where there could be a pullback. Because pullbacks are natural. It doesn't mean that it's over. In terms of the upside, it's always going to be there. I believe that, should we be able to break the previous all-time high, which could potentially happen in the next week or so, depending on how we play out, we might go sideways a bit at those lines, but I feel from now we're going to be coming back up again. If we do see a rejection at one of those lines, then there's always the chance that we could come back to retest lower here. However, this is a key line for me. In the past, you see we found solid resistance here. We didn't find much solid support. We didn't find much in the way of resistance. So as you can see, it's moving up. Even as I've been making up this video, it's moved up $10 or $15. Just see whether it can break through that is our key thing to pay attention to. But at the moment, still not a bad buying opportunity in my own opinion. Obviously, go away and do your own research. It's not up to me to decide what you do with your money. Always, you're the ones who've worked hard for that money. Don't throw it away just because someone else has told you to do something. Always go away and do your own research. Watch plenty of information, plenty of videos to understand exactly what you feel is happening in the market, and never put in more money than you can afford to lose. Guys, hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you're new to the House of Crypto, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of the latest happening in Ethereum, Bitcoin, Polkadot, ADA, and a variety of other altcoins. Thanks very much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.